All right, President Trump plans to hold a campaign rally. Speaking of staying safe, he plans to hold a campaign rally in Florida today, as his recent statements about recovering from the coronavirus are being called into question, as you just heard. On Saturday, President Trump spoke in public for the first time since leaving Walter Reed Medical Center. The president claims he's recovered from the coronavirus and he is now immune to it, but there is no conclusive medical evidence to prove whether or not people who've had COVID-19 can be immune. Let us head over to the White House now, where Ben Tracy has been following the latest developments. So, Ben, you probably heard a bit of that conversation that we had with Dr. Elfenbein. The president says he's tested negative for COVID-19, but that has not been confirmed by the White House or his medical team. It is mind-boggling to me that the White House medical team, throughout this entirety of President Trump's infection, has provided scant information to the American people, and now they're stonewalling you and the rest of the press as to when the last time the president was tested. What is so hard about doing that? Why are they not willing to share that information?
Well, the interesting thing is the White House, the president's doctor said that he would release a memo when the president does test negative for the virus again. He has not done that, so that's the indication that the president, in fact, continues to test positive if they are testing him. The claim that the president is making now, though, is he's saying that he's tested totally negative, although he didn't really explain what that meant. But what his doctor is now saying is that the president is no longer a transmission risk, that the viral load in his system is so low that he's no longer contagious. So that's what was important to the president this weekend, to hear that, because that means he can get back out there on the campaign trail. He's going to hold this rally in Sanford, Florida tonight. But some of the president's other claims about being immune, we just don't know that to be true, because that is still being studied. We don't know enough about this virus to know if you are actually immune to it after you have had it and for how long.
So we have new numbers now from our CBS News Battleground Tracker. It shows how voters in key battleground states are reacting to how the president handled his own coronavirus diagnosis. What are those voters saying?
Yeah, so these three important states, Michigan, Nevada, and Iowa, and basically the data is not good for President Trump. This shows that voters in those states, by wide margins, think that he has handled his own coronavirus infection irresponsibly, and it's a pretty wide margin. So those are states that the president is very much trying to win, that he's trying to compete in. You see the numbers there. 59% of those in Michigan think that he has been irresponsible. The other part of this polling also shows that people think that if they were to get the coronavirus, that their treatment would actually be quite a bit worse than what the president got. And that's significant because in the last couple of days, President Trump has been trying to make a point that, having gone through this, he now understands the therapies, he understands how people could be treated with this, and he wants to make those treatments available to everyone. The president got some pretty experimental treatment, things that you would have to appeal to the FDA to get. So those are not things that most people would actually get. And then the third question there about people believe that the administration is making his health sound better than it is. So obviously it's not just skeptical reporters that are questioning the information or lack thereof that's coming out of the White House, but voters are seeing that too, that they don't quite believe this is as rosy as the president has painted it out to be.
Yeah, these are stark numbers from this CBS News Battleground Tracker poll, Ben, and it indicates what reporters have been sort of saying over the past 2 weeks or so, which is that the president of the United States was not able to protect members of his own inner circle. So how can he protect members of the American? How can he protect the American people if you see that there are super spreader events at the White House? If you see how the president, who is at the point that he was still infectious and contagious potentially, putting others at risk by going to the Oval Office, by taking a ride in that SUV just so he could do that photo op with his supporters. And now you've got this, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, pushing back after the Trump campaign used his comments in an ad. I want to play some of that for you.
President Trump tackled the virus head-on, as leaders should.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
All right, Ben, set the record straight. What is Dr. Anthony Fauci saying about this?
So Dr. Fauci is not happy about this. He put out a statement yesterday saying that his words were taken out of context, that he has never in his many, many decades of public service endorsed a political candidate. The context here is what you heard him say there is what he said with an edit in the middle of it. But he was not talking about President Trump. That's from an interview that he did all the way back in March. And he was complimenting the work of the White House Coronavirus Task Force and never mentioned President Trump's name at all in those comments. So in that ad, it's made to look as if Fauci is praising the president and his response. He did not do that. And also because this is all the way back in March, a whole lot's happened since then in terms of criticism of the administration's response. So Fauci not happy about this. The campaign and the president, though, pushing back and saying those are Fauci's own words. He was praising the administration and President Trump is the administration. So they're moving forward with their ad and going to keep it on TV.
All right, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.